We're very excited to be in Gill Coliseum for the first time on Saturday. It seems like it's been a long time. We've had two road trips to Vegas and Salt Lake City, and it was an interesting beginning to the season because they were on podium, and normal air meets are only on podium postseason. So it was a good experience for the athletes, but now we're gonna get into kind of a more normal schedule, which is traditional, meet without a podium. So we're looking forward to it. It'll be nice to be in comfortable settings with our own home crowd cheering for us, and I think that'll be really exciting for the athletes.
Would you prefer those podium events maybe towards the end of the season when you guys are a little more warmed up?
In some way, yes. In some way, it'd be nice to have one right before you go to a Pac-12 championships. But this, in a way, is good too. The fact that we had two of them was pretty unique. It's super unique. We've never done that ever. I think it'll be a good learning experience so that when we do roll back into Salt Lake City for the Pac-12 championships, we'll have already competed in that arena on that podium. And I think that'll really go a long way especially for the freshmen, instead of having that really intimidating factor of, wow, this is a podium, I've never been on a podium. They will already have that experience under their belt.
Through the first 6 events, what are some things you've really liked what you've seen from the group you have?
I think the fight mainly. This team has been fighting the whole way. Tons of potential. Obviously, on bars, my event, we have not done what we're capable of in practice and in the gym. So I think we're about to turn the corner on that. We saw a good improvement last week in Salt Lake City, but we still had to count a fall there. But even through the adversity of the meet in Vegas, they didn't give up, and they kept fighting and put together a solid meet on the other 3 events. And even in Salt Lake City, where we had a struggle with a couple of routines, people picked it up and finished strong. So the big thing that I see is that fight with this team, and they know that they're capable of doing great things, and it's just a matter of us putting it all together.
What kind of atmosphere are you expecting getting back to Gill for the first time this season?
I can't wait. I love Gill. This is year 26 for us, and it's always it's a special place. You get in front of our home crowd, and you have the band and everything, the energy, and there's something really very special about that environment. Being, we'll finish up on floor, and our crowd will get into it. And so I can't wait for the freshmen to experience that firsthand. I know we did our orange and black back in December in Gill, and that gives you just a little bit of a taste of what the environment's like. But when you get a lot of the fans in there, and you're gonna have 3 other teams in there with us, it's gonna be pretty exciting.
Speaking of the freshmen, you've had the opportunity to work several of them in to some routines in these first couple of weekends. What do you see, and some positive results over these first couple of weekends?
Absolutely. I would like to. Savannah Miller has really stepped up on floor. I mean, she had an amazing performance, both meets, but her floor in Salt Lake City starting us out. And that's a tough spot to start an event, and she nailed that floor routine both times and got a big score. So that was really exciting. Let's see, who else? Jennifer McMillan competed first time in Vegas and did exhibition, but I think she's ready to step back into lineup. Ellie Weaver did a great job for the first time on bars this past weekend, and that was great to see. Francesca has done bars both times. She had a beautiful routine going, and then just kind of struggled on her dismount there at the end. Otherwise, that would have been a really big score. But I think those are pretty valuable experiences for those freshmen to be in competition settings, and I think that's going to pay off as we move along here.
Sydney seems to have maybe made a little mini leap, or a full leap coming into this season. What do you see?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. She's put in a lot of hard work, and I think you can tell in her gymnastics from where she was last year to this year, and that's going to help us a ton on her 3 events that she does, floor, vault, and beam. And so I think you can just feel her confidence has really grown, and that's showing in her performance. So we're super excited about Sydney. Ariana Young is the other one who really has stepped up in that same age group class that from what she did last year to this year is significant, and definitely going to see big things from her, I think, this year as well.
When you have a little bit of a tough opening weekend, is that necessarily a terrible thing as a coach? Because
You never want to have any bad weekends, but in some way you do realize that if you're going to have a rough meet, you want to do it early in the season and not at the end, because that's something like it. At regionals last year, they had a great meet. He was top scorer, but it kind of sits. We missed not advancing by a quarter 10, so that kind of sits with you for a full year before you can get back out there and compete again. I knew that, okay, that was not what they're capable of in Vegas, and they're a lot better team than that. So I knew the very next weekend we were going to be able to get back out there and do well. And so, yeah, you want to build. We want to win at the end of the season, not at the beginning. So I feel like we're on track, and we just got to keep plugging away and putting in good work in the gym, and it's all going to pay off for us.
How do you think those two sitting over there have performed to the expectations you've set for them?
They push themselves harder than we do. I mean, these two right over here work hard. They show up early. They stay late. Do all the numbers we ask. Super fortunate to have them as not only fantastic gymnasts, but as great leaders for the team too. I think going into their second year, I think they're starting to find their voice and their role and being able to kind of help the freshmen along. And I think that's a tremendous benefit for the program. And so we couldn't be happier with how well they've done. And I know they have even more great things ahead of them.
I think that, yeah.
And her 210s, she's done even better than that, so that was about damn time.
Jade, your opening weekend, it was maybe our first evidence since you arrived here that you're human. And that it just wasn't your best weekend. How do you put a weekend like that behind you?
Well, for me, that definitely was my worst college meet ever altogether. So I was pretty upset and pretty hard on myself, but it really just motivated me to get back in the gym and get better and fix it all.
Gotcha. And then to respond the way you did at Salt Lake, that has to be gratifying, just to see the results, recognized on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I was definitely really happy with how things went in Salt Lake City, not just for me, but for my team as well. I know the first meet we weren't super pleased with that altogether, so we all got in the gym and worked really hard to turn things around.
The obvious question is just, you took on a lot in 2022. Is that play any role in it? Did you, just because of just the load you carried and everything you tried to do and what you accomplished in Liverpool, you just need a little bit of a break after that?
Yeah, I mean, I did take a break after Liverpool, but I think it was just more of I didn't do quite as many college routines, or I didn't have quite as many under my belt before competing at the first meet as I did last year. So I think it was me just getting more comfortable with those routines and more confident in myself.
I guess a question for both of you, similar to what I asked your coach, where do you guys feel like for where the standards you set for yourself at this point of the season?
I think a lot of the times, especially us two up here, are harder on ourselves than our coaches are on us, and it's not a bad thing. We hold ourselves to very high standards, but it also helps our team to grow and be as prepared as possible for where we are right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
Lauren, you too. What's the difference between coming in now and where you were a year ago?
Yeah, I think freshman year I was really just trying to find my feet and find myself back in the sport. I hadn't competed in a few years, so I was just trying to find where I was and do I still belong here? And I think I really found that towards the end of the season, so I feel more prepared and more confident in myself coming into this year.
Jade, what else you got this year outside of college gymnastics that you have scheduled for international stuff or just other forms of gymnastics?
Well, for the college season, I'm just focused on competing for OSU. I'm still training elite, so every once in a while, here and there, I'll train harder skills, harder routines. My dad comes every once in a while to help with that. And then kind of the same as the year before, I hope to go to championships and worlds again.
For both of you, how much of a lift do you get when you have a home crowd behind you like you will on Saturday for the first time this year?
Being at home it's just amazing, like to have all of the fans coming back, you and to be in your home stadium and friends, especially whether you meet them like in classes or just other athletes, but to have all that come together in one place, like it's just incredible.
Yeah, I would agree. It's incredible to see all the people in the stands that come just to watch you and support this team. So I'm really grateful that we have a place to compete like this.
I'm good.
Just the last question for you, Jade. The pressure and the way that you deal with it. We talk about that opening weekend, and yet your scores on that opening weekend would have been scores that if you had just gone through the Oregon State record book would have been pretty good-looking scores in the history of the program. Just so competing at that level with the expectations that you have, how do you just deal with that never-ending pressure to be an Olympic gold medalist every day, 365 days a year?
It's not always easy. I feel like a lot of the pressure and expectation, though, comes from myself. But I think this year, or I'm working on this year, like being easier on myself and just allowing myself to do gymnastics, do what I love, and have fun with it, and just see where it takes me. I definitely do better when I compete like that, so really just trying to live that this year.
No, I mean, about the 210s this past weekend, how does it feel to hear yourself mentioned, oh, this has only happened one other time in this program's history? You see that, like, what comes to mind?
I don't even know. And that's so cool just to be able to bring that to this sport and to this school. And I think it's just really inspiring for other people, and I hope that people will look up to that and hopefully come here someday too.